Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we were just gonna cover the song that I did earlier this week. So we're gonna cover the techniques in it as well as just the song itself and kind of walk through it step by step. And then after that, I'm going to see if any of you guys have any questions. So just let me know if you have any questions after that, just about the U-bass in general, or how to play any other techniques or the techniques in the song. So that will be the goal today. So kind of just jump into it here in a second. I find, okay. So first in this song, I'm using just a general plucking technique that's more like finger picking. So my thumb's not really anchored anywhere when I'm playing certain notes in it. And then I'm going back and forth between that and then strumming these double stops. So double stops are basically two notes played at the same time. There's nothing crazy about them, but they can be just pretty much any different interval, but you're just playing those two notes at the same time. So in this case, there are a lot of fifths, like a root and a fifth, that interval. So that would be like the first fret on the and the third fret on the G string. That's the first one that happens in the song. And so I'm either strumming them down with my fingernail on this hand, just like a downward flick motion, or I'm coming up with the pad of my finger just near the fingertip if I'm coming up. So down, up, down. You can practice doing that a little bit. And you want to practice being accurate hitting those two strings. If you're afraid if you'll hit another string, I kind of use my left hand, just the extra part of this finger. So rather than using my complete fingertip, I go a little bit down further here so that I can mute the string above it. So if I accidentally hit that string, it's not ringing out like that. You probably couldn't hear it there, but that note ringing out with those other two doesn't sound very good. So I try to just mute it that way sometimes. Okay. So now that we've kind of got the general idea on the strumming and the general idea on what double stops are, we can just go through the piece. So let's do that. I might close a couple programs so it doesn't slow the connection down. Let me do that real quick. Okay. And we'll just go ahead and go through this. Let me know in the chat if everything is coming through clearly or if I need to make some adjustments on here. Hey, Alan, how's it going? So hopefully the sound is coming through clearly. Just let me know, and then I'll get started here in a second. Okay. So I'll go ahead and get started, and if I have to go back and redo something, I'll let you guys know. So first, you're going to play the 5th fret on the D string, just plucked. So I'm kind of not anchoring my thumb, really, just kind of doing more like a finger picking kind of like you do on guitar or ukulele. And so I'm playing 5th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the G string, then back to the 5th fret on the D string, D as in dog. And then I'm going to shift down to the 1st fret and the 3rd fret. So 1st fret on the D string and 3rd fret on the G string. And that's where I'm doing that little strum pattern where I'm going down, up, down. So after the first down strum, I'm kind of hanging on it a little bit longer. Then the up strum happens, and then the last down strum. So here's what that sounds like. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, just to give you an idea of that rhythm. And then we've got a similar pattern going on. It's just going to be on a different string, and the plucking part is going to be the 3rd fret on the A string, the 5th fret on the D string, then back to the 3rd fret on the A string. Then we go back to that same power chord we were doing before, 1st fret on the D string. It's an E flat note, sorry. 1st fret on the D string, 3rd fret on the G string, and we're going to do that down, up, down. So far we've got from the beginning. And then we just do that pattern again. So that takes us all the way through measure 4. So we did the first 2 measures, but then we do essentially the first 2 measures again right after that. So let's play that together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there's a lot of moving parts there. We have to be able to mute a little bit with the left hand. We got to be accurate with our strums, and we got to be pretty quick from our little finger picking thing to strumming. So that's why I like doing the finger picking thing like this rather than having my thumb anchored, is because it's easier to get to where I can strum with the fingernails right afterwards. So let me just double check on you guys and see if there's anything going on here. Everything's good. Very, very cool. Congrats on your bass, Alan. Very cool. Okay, good. So I'm glad things are coming through clearly. If that changes at any point, let me know. Hopefully we can keep the connection going good. So that's the whole first part. And then here we're going to do a slide into the 6th fret. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So we got our same idea with the right hand where we're doing pluck, pluck, strum, strum, strum. And those particular strums are down, up, down. And it's the same rhythm all the way through. So that part's easy. It's just the intervals change. So first we're going to slide to the 6th fret on the D string. And then we're going to play the 5th fret on the G string. Then back to the 6th fret on the D string. Then we're going to do the 3rd fret on the G string and the 5th fret on the D string. So it's almost like if you're used to a power chord, it's just like switch the strings that each finger is on, but keep the frets the same. And that would be a minor 3rd interval if you're curious about that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It's just some theory kind of stuff. But yeah, so we slide into the 6th fret, play that 5th fret, then back to the 6th fret. So that was on the D string, the G string, then back to the D string. Then the strums on the that chord that's the 5th fret on the D string and the 3rd fret on the G string. Then we're going to slide down and we're going to play, and we don't really actually have to do a slide. We could just move our hand down to the 3rd fret on the D string, 1st fret on the G string, back to the 3rd fret on the D string. And then we're going to have a chord where we play the 1st fret on the D string with the open G string together with that same down, up, down strum pattern that we had. So let's do that part. It actually happens twice in a row. So we'll just go ahead and play that little section together, starting from the slide into the 6th fret. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again. Okay, and so then that's the majority of the piece. Like we're more than halfway through it just from getting to that point because it repeats all of that again. So because it repeats, we're going to pretend we're on the 2nd repeat and just start from the beginning of the piece and go to what we just did. So we're starting from, we do that 2 times, then we do the other section that we just talked about 2 times. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Slide to 6. And then if we were playing it from the beginning of the piece, we would do all again, but we were pretending that was the 2nd time. So once we've done that whole entire thing 2 times, we've got something kind of similar to the 2nd half that happens. I'm going to check in with you guys and see if you're confused about any of this or if you missed the part about the double stops. Okay. And Ukulele Learning says, "Where's that cornbread?" That's my cat. Her name is Melanie Cornbread. So I found her on a farm, And she's probably outside of the room somewhere. If I were to open the door, she'd probably run in here and try to climb up my bass case and attack that little guitar on the wall. But we'll have to see what happens. Maybe later on I'll open the door and see if she wants to come in here. But for now, we'll just keep going with the song. So that's the first half. Nothing too crazy. Just double stops are just playing 2 notes at the same time. We're strumming them in this case, but you could also pluck 2 strings at the same time if you wanted to. So you could theoretically play this song where you're plucking bum, bum, bum. I just think the strums sound better. Down, up, down, because I like the notes ringing out, but you could do a more staccato version just by using 2 fingers plucking the D string and the G string together. Or not even just more staccato, just less of an attack to it if you want to have a softer sound. Okay, so once we've played through all the stuff that we played through just a second ago, we're going to go on to measure 9, and that's going to sound like this. It's very similar to the second half of what we just learned. Whoops, no, it's not it. So it does that, and so let's just go through that much of it, because then at the end it sort of borrows some stuff from the beginning and goes back into it. So at measure 9, and by the way, if you're curious about this, you could either pull up this week's video earlier. It's something like Double Stop Strum Groove, I think is what I called it. And if you type U-bass and then that in, you'll probably get it. If you type in U-bass double stop, you'll probably get it. So basically, you could also go to Patreon if you want the printable version and become a patron to be able to print that. But you don't have to. I usually have links in my description. Today, I don't have one on this video, but once again, the video from earlier this week you could check out. I guess that was just yesterday I released that one. So anyway, this part, you're going to pluck the 3 notes. You're going to slide into the 6th fret on the D string, and then pluck the 5th fret on the G string, then pluck the 6th fret, on the D string again. So 6, 5, 6. Then we're going to slide up, and we don't actually have to play the slide, but if it happens, it's kind of cool. But I didn't notate it because it's not really part of the song. We're going to play a double stop where we have the 8th fret on the D string and the 7th fret on the G string at the same time. We're going to do that same pattern that we've been doing the whole time with the right hand, which is strumming down fingernail, then up, down after that. Down, up, down. So when we come up, we're just using out of the finger kind of. So far we got. Okay. Then we're going to go to the 5th fret on the D string and the 3rd fret on the G string. We're going to play 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret. Then we're going to come back up to a double stop where we have the 6th fret on the D string and the 5th fret on the G string. We're going to do that same little strum pattern that we've been doing at the end of every measure. Down, up, down on that double stop. You might notice I was using my ring finger this time to mute the A string so that it wouldn't ring out. So you could do that too. You don't have to use just your fingertip going over like this to mute the extra strings. You could also do that. If you don't do that, you just have to be really accurate with your fingers to not hit the A string when you're strumming. I like to strum a little bit more wildly and mute rather than be super duper accurate and not mute, but you could do either. Okay, so far we've got. Okay. Then after that, we're going to go to the 3rd fret on the D string, the 1st fret on the G string, back to the 3rd fret on the D string. Okay, those are just plucked notes. And then we're going to slide up to the, and you don't actually have to do a slide. You could just move your hand up to the 5th fret on the D string and the 3rd fret on the G string. We're just going to strum that with the same pattern we've been doing. Down, up, down. Then we're going to go back to the 3rd fret on the D string, 1st fret on the G string, back to the 3rd fret on the D string, and then we're going to do a double stop where we're doing the 1st fret on the D string and the open G string. And we're going to do that chord, that or strum pattern that we've been doing. Down, up, down. So let me play through that. That's measure 9 through measure 12, and it's. before we do that, I want to talk about kind of what fingers I was using on the double stops. When I was up here doing the 6th fret and the 5th fret, I was using my middle finger and my pointer finger, and then just sliding those up for the double stop on the 8th fret to the 7th fret, 8th on the D string, 7th fret on the G. And then when I move down to where there's a fret empty in the middle, like the 5th fret going to the 3rd fret back to the 5th fret, sorry, I was using my ring finger and my pointer finger. So it's kind of that 1 finger per fret idea. But sometimes when I was going from there to another one like that, rather than switching like this, sometimes I find it just as comfortable to just slide the ring finger up one, and you could either use the middle finger for the other note or scrunch your fingers together, which to me I find quicker if I'm sliding around. So it's not exactly perfect technique to have your hands scrunched like that, but sometimes it makes it easier when you're playing a song faster. So you might see me do that and kind of break my own, break the standard 1 finger per fret rule, but it just happens sometimes. You could do it with perfect form and keep it going. To me, I think I can just play it smoother if I do that this way. Okay. It may just be a bad habit. You may not really need it at all. But let's go ahead and do measure 9 through measure 12 now that we get the idea on those finger patterns. The other ones are just kind of a similar idea. So I don't think we need to go over those as much if you get the concept on what we just went over. So measure 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it one more time, a little bit slower. I think I did it too fast there. 3 and 4 and that's way too slow. 3 and 4 and. Sorry. And one more time so we can get that one chord correctly. I played one that might guys off a little bit. Measure 9 one more time. 3 and 4 and. Cool. So after we get through that, we're on to measure 13. That one's just like measure 1 and measure 2. So those measure 13 and 14 are the same as measure 1 and 2. So that's just doing that power chord thing. 5th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the G string, back to 5th fret on the D string, then going down to the 1st fret on the D string with the 3rd fret power chord, then 3rd fret on the A string plucked, 5th fret on the D string plucked, back to 3rd fret on the A string, then back to that same power chord we were doing before, 1st fret on the D string, 3rd fret on the G string, and then right at the end we have a little bit of a different thing for the last 2 measures, slightly different strum pattern, and okay. So all that is I'm sliding into the 6th fret of the D string, playing the 5th fret on the G string, back to the 6th fret on the D string. Then we go up to the 8th fret on the D string with the 7th fret on the G string. So this one's going to be a double stop. And then this time we're adding an extra up strum at the end. So we're going down, up, and then our final chord that we got to get to super quick, which is part of the challenge. I just made this part a little bit challenging for those that got through the rest of it and wanted a little extra challenge. It's like you have to switch from that 7 and 8 all the way to 3-note chord, which is not a double stop. So this one you're going to be playing the 6th fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string, and 8th fret on the G string. Just all 3 of those notes, and you're just going to do a down strum on there. So the hardest part, I think, is getting from the part right before that, or the strums right before that, into that last chord. So let's do measure 15 and 16. Then we'll go from measure 13 through 16. So here's measure 15 and 16, starting from that slide into the 6th fret on the D string. 3 and 4 and 2, 3. Do it more time. 4. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. So now we'll start from measure 13 and go from there to the end. 3 and 4 and 2, 3, because it's the whole note. 4. And that's it. All right. So let's try playing the whole thing a little faster than that. If you want a slower version of this, I've added a playback on the other video from earlier that's at 50% speed, but let's play this one not quite full speed, but not quite that slow either, because it's a very long song. So we're going to do all the repeats and everything. And if I make mistakes, I'm just going to keep going. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 9. Measure 13. All right. So that's it for that. If you guys have any questions, now's a good time to ask. Please just let me know. Let me find where the pop-up chat went to. Kind of disappeared on me. And let's just talk through any questions you guys have. So at 8 minutes and 55 seconds, the video got much clearer. I'm not sure what changed. Interesting. It must have been my internet connection just magically getting a little bit better. Yeah, so for the economy of motion, I think you're talking about where I was doing this kind of thing where I'm scrunching my hand together. Yeah, and then right after I said that, I played it where I did something a little bit more one finger per fret. But there are a lot of ways you can do it, and neither one is like this. You know, there's not really a standard. I guess the one finger per fret is really a standard, but there are two ways you could do that. You could go from if you were going from the shape where you're doing the 5th fret on the D string to the 3rd fret on the G string, and then moving from there to the 6th fret on the D string to the 5th fret of the G string, you could either just slide the ring finger up and put your middle finger down, or you could change by going all the way here, removing your ring finger and putting your middle finger down here and using your pointer finger for the note on the G string. So your middle finger is getting the 6th fret on the D string, and your pointer finger is getting the 5th fret on the G string. Or you can do what I did a couple of times, which is kind of breaking the rules a little bit, where I'm just sliding those fingers closer together. So what I'm doing is using my ring finger for the 5th fret on the D string, pointer finger for the 3rd fret on the G string, and then using those same fingers, just sliding my ring finger up to the 6th fret on the D string, and my pointer finger made a bigger slide to the 5th fret on the G string for the second one. So hopefully that helps a little bit. So that's pretty much it on that. So I wanted to know if anybody here has any questions just about the U-bass in general or anything else. I think we had a question about how Cornbread's doing, so I'm going to see how she's doing out here. Sounds like she's being crazy. She being crazy? Gonna come in here? Come on. I think she's going to run in here in a second. I have a feeling, because she likes to play around in the music room. So if you like this, there's a kitten coming. She's probably going to be mad at me for picking her up, but she came in the room anyway. Oh, okay. She's going to play with the guitar cable, not let me pick her up, I guess. There we go. She got the guitar cable. So here she is. Oh, her heart is beating so fast. Oh, tap dancing on the keys, I guess. So there she is. Say hey to everybody. Hi, everybody. She doesn't talk that much. She doesn't really meow that much unless she's like, unless I'm giving her, she was sick a little while ago. So when I was giving her medicine, she would, ow, don't bite me. She would meow a little bit. But sometimes when I don't let her like do her own thing and just move around, she'll kind of do that. But she's in hyper crazy mode, so she probably just wants to play with everything in the room. So hopefully she won't bite any cords, but yeah. So for asking about how she's doing, her name is Melanie Cornbread. She has 2 names, and there you go. All right, so here we go. We got some questions already. So I'm glad everybody likes her. She's very sweet. And she's not back there trying to mess with the internet connection. Kitty, don't do it. Don't go over there. Something. I'm trying to get her back over here. Here she comes. Okay. Over here. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So she's over here being cute and hopefully not messing up the internet connection. So we've got a question. I can't read your username very well. Sorry, I don't know the language well enough to know. But Ubase do you recommend as a first one? That kind of depends on, are you coming to Ubase from playing any instruments before? Because if so, it depends on if you want it to feel more like an electric bass, or if you want to get the sound that has more of that like upright bass quality to it, or if you want something kind of in between. So I have the flat wound strings here, and basically with the flat wound strings, you know, they're kind of a happy medium. So from electric bass, if you want it to just be like a miniature electric bass, I would get one of the models that has the round wound strings on it. So this one came with the round wound strings. They have a nylon core. By the way, this is the Journeyman model. I think they discontinued the red one. You can probably still find them in different places, but they make a black one, and they're relatively inexpensive. You know, they're cheap as far as U-basses go. So if we're talking about collar brand stuff, I'd say I really like the Journeyman. I play it the most out of all the ones that I have. I have the exotic mahogany in the corner over there. Not sure if I'm pointing at it or if I'm pointing at the wrong one, right there. And that one has the round wound strings on it. So those are the most like electric bass strings, unless you're used to flat wound strings, in which case I would recommend upgrading to the flat wounds. Because flat wounds, to me, they're the easiest to slide on. They're very smooth, but they're a little bit less bright. Sorry, my cat thinks everything is a toy. Kitty. Okay, we got to get her out of here because she's going to keep making noise. Come on, Kitty. All right. Say bye to everybody. Bye. Gotta close the door on you. Sorry, Kitty. Okay. So anyway, sorry about that. As a first one, so coming from electric bass, either one of those strings are good, but none of them really come with the flat wound, so you may have to put those on after the fact. That's what I chose to do on this one. So it's a little bit of a hassle. I had to make the groove wider under the nut here, but to me, these feel more like playing an electric bass because there are certain things that happen with the round wound strings that take a little getting used to, like when you go to bend a note. For instance, the string kind of rolls because they have a nylon core, even though they have metal wrapping around them. So it just feels a slight bit different. But if you like the brightness that you get from electric bass strings, you know, for kind of attack purposes and other things like that, the round wounds are very bright. They are sometimes so bright that they might be too bright for some people. where you get too much string noise and something of that nature. But hopefully that helps a little bit. All right. Yeah, everybody likes cornbread. I noticed that. About the Kala Exotic Mahogany Fretted. That is this one. So this one, these strings are actually like, I've had this for 4 years now. So these are, and that's what it sounds like acoustic. But I really like it. Honestly, it's been really good. Sometimes that string noise comes through the amp rather loud. So just something to kind of keep in mind. You can find videos where I've recorded with it, and just note that I was trying to get as little string noise as possible. So if you're trying to get all that string noise out, you may want to use a compressor of some sort. You may want to have pedals where you can EQ, like a 7-band EQ kind of thing. But I wasn't doing any of those things. I was just trying to use the instrument and the amp to get those noises out. So that's kind of the thing about this one. It plays really well. It is a better, to me, it's a slightly better quality. They spend a little more time on, I think, crafting the instruments that are in the higher price bracket. But honestly, I think the Journeyman's really good too. Intonation was good on it when I got it. If you can find one with the round wound strings already on it, then that's great. This one kind of came with them, but it may be that the shop put them on. So just to kind of keep that in mind. But I do like that model a lot. This was actually the first U-bass that I got. So this is the Exotic Mahogany for your question. So the difference is it has a different pickup. You might like having the 3-band EQ that you get on the Journeyman, but the quality of the shadow pickup's really good, but it only has one tone knob. So it makes it a little harder to get rid of some of the string noise, not having an extra band for high that you can kind of pull some of that out with. So you just might have to rely more on the amp. So hopefully that helps a little bit. So does anybody else have any questions about that? Or do you have any other questions about models of bass? But I do think this one is a really good first one. I used it a lot. It inspired me to do the canon arrangement and all these other things just right away. But yeah, that's the idea. So anybody that missed out on the first part, we just went over the double stop groove earlier. Double stops are just playing 2 notes at the same time. So that's cool. Oh, okay. So Navix is back here. He says, "Hey, Steven, not sticking around as my last full day of vacation. Yeah, enjoy your vacation. Thanks for stopping by at all. Got the Kala Ka20S uke. Okay. Is S stand for soprano? Is that just an ukulele? I'm going to look it up. Kala Ka. Yeah, so the S stands for soprano, I'm guessing. Well, maybe, yeah. Looks like it stands for soprano. Very cool. Yeah, I've got another instrument, so you can kind of combine your uke and your U-bass, kind of start writing some duet stuff. I got to do some more duet stuff. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, I think it does. Looks very nice. I'm pretty happy with the. I have the Kala ebony tenor. I just decided I wanted the tenor because the string tensions just. It's easier to not accidentally bend notes out of tune with my giant bass fingers. No, they're still rather small, but you get the idea. It's easier for me to not bend a note out of tune by accident just from push down. So that's why I like tenor ukuleles. But honestly, all of Kala's lines are pretty good. I've really enjoyed any ukulele from them I've picked up. So, yep. But I do think that that those models are pretty good. If you want to try the rubber strings, honestly, I was pretty impressed with the Nomad. I really liked the sound of the bamboo model. It had a little bit more brightness to it that kind of in a good way, like the sound of the instrument just projected slightly better acoustically even, but harmonics rang out really clear. When I was doing harmonics, they rang out very clearly on the bamboo model, even though it had the, I'm calling them rubber strings. They're technically polyurethane. I know some people get mad when I say rubber strings, but they feel like rubber. That's the point. So so there's that. You know, and if you want to hear how they sound just on this one's the Wanderer. I think with the Wanderer, they're planning on putting the round wound strings on them moving forward. So that might be a little bit different. Okay, so the best Kala instrument, if we're talking about U-basses, I mean, I think they do get better with the price. I think the price ranges make sense, you know, so the cheaper ones might have some quality control issues because some of them are still manufactured in China and stuff. And then the ones that they spend the most time at are probably their custom shop solid body U-basses, and those play really well and they just look nicer, and they're, you know, they're going to be intonated correctly by them from Kala, and you know they're just gonna spend more time on them, so you're gonna have a better instrument overall. To me, the range with the exotic mahogany and the like Kala ebony U-bass, not the tenor that I have, but the U-bass, that level, that price range seems to have everyone that I've played across the board in that price range has been really good. I think just the standard mahogany one kind of fits that kind of thing too. I'm trying to remember what the model number that is, but it's not the Wanderer, but there's another, and it's not the Nomad. There's another mahogany one. I think kind of like the one that Jacob Collier was playing in one of those videos where he was doing that Stevie Wonder kind of stuff. Boogie on Reggae Woman, I think, was the song he was playing. But yeah, so so as far as bass go, I would say those U-basses are really nice. I'm sure they have some really, really nice ukuleles that I haven't played before, but you know, probably just the upper range stuff on there is really good. The striped ebony, yeah. So the striped ebony U-bass. I have the striped ebony tenor. So that's the one that I have, just for the record. It's probably not in tune. I haven't played it in weeks. But I like this one a lot. The thing with ebony is it has a dark tone. And I think even the pickup is kind of affected by how dense the wood is. So you get kind of a darker tone out of the amp. So if you're trying to do a lot of like, you know, drumming on the body and getting it to come through, you may want a different wood for that. But it's a really nice tone for most of what I do. So I really like it. Yeah. So basically the U-bass version of this tenor, I was thinking about getting that one. What I really like is a fretless one of those with flat wound strings on it. I think that'd be really nice. I know Ukulele has one, and I think Bukiti Kumalo has played a couple like that. Although he seems to come out with some signature models. He's come out with more signature models than he's had before. But I've seen him play the strumming one, and he seemed to really like that setup too. So at some point I'll probably get that, although the fretless makes it a little, I don't know, it's got the fret markers, unlike the list that I have, which is a off-brand one that I probably wouldn't recommend. Although it's an okay bass. It's just I put the flat wound strings on it. It caused the neck to bow a little bit. So you definitely want to have one that has a truss rod so you can do adjustments so that doesn't happen. But it didn't break it or anything. It's still over there. It's still lasted the test of time for those wondering from when I did put those strings on there. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. So I kind of like the striped ebony look, and I like the way it plays. Which one do you want me to play for you? The bass or the All right, so there's a little uke for you, and then I'll play some bass for you too. So I've got the loop pedal hooked up so that we could have some jams on here too. So that's with a lot of treble, and it sounds like I have the mids up too much. So if I turn those back a little bit and turn the bass knob up a little, it'll probably distort through the mic. That's why I usually keep the bass knob down when I'm doing these streams. Maybe I'll do something with the loop pedal now. Get even more bass, just kind of loop some kind of groove. Fade it out, right? So that kind of gives you an idea of the different ranges on this one. At the moment, I don't have all the batteries in all of the other ones, so I'd have to like go back to changing out the batteries like I used to do when I was down to one pair of batteries. I think I have more than one, so the Wander might have a set in it, but I can't seem to find the battery holder in this one. I wonder if the cat got a hold of it, but hopefully not. She doesn't get on the desk usually, so if it's on here, then I'm safe. It's not on here though. So I can give you an idea of what the rubber strings sound like, or the polyurethane rather, but maybe not the rounds at the moment. So I made videos on these, and if you want to check those out just to kind of get an idea on the rubber strings, they are different. You try to play really fast in a humid environment, or if your fingers get at all sweaty, it's harder to have control over playing fast. You have to play much lighter than you would on electric bass. So it's just kind of little things like that you kind of got to watch out for. But it seems to stay in tune better. So that's kind of interesting. because I haven't played it in a while, and yeah, this one's staying in tune better than the flat wound seemed to, because I didn't have to tune anything but the E string really that time, I don't think. So it just takes some getting used to. You got to play a little bit lighter because the strings do have much looser tension, as you can see by how far I can move them. So I'm going to turn the treble down and just kind of lay down some sort of bass line, maybe something similar to the last one, or maybe something different. What do you guys think? I don't know, maybe something like that. I'm getting a lot of buzz that time, so let's try it one more time. I blame my playing, not the bass, on that one. Just then D. I kind of want that to stand out a little more, so I'll turn some treble up and do it again. Now I'll add some mids in there, let it kind of boost. So you see it's a totally different vibe. Yeah, and where you pluck makes a huge difference. You can get a really bright tone. And, oh, when you slide, sometimes it doesn't slide in tune because it kind of like, you might pull the string with it and cause it to be a little bit flat. So we got that. And then I want a little bit less treble, but I could also play over to do that. Or I can still play over here. Good. Sometimes you get a little weird sound from just like sweaty fingers accidentally sliding on the strings. I wonder if I can actually use that for something. You know, kind of like drummers do with the drum heads, where they get a little bit of a vibration and then slide their finger across. It's that kind of thing. I don't know how to get it in tune or anything. But you get the idea. find me a tune. All right, so that's usually what I do with the loop pedal. By the way, for those interested, I just use the very simple loop pedal, the Boss RC1. Fairly inexpensive for a loop pedal. It's like $100 or something, but it's inexpensive for loop pedal. At least in the States, it should be about that price. Maybe they raised it a little bit. I'm not sure if the production went down or anything, but over the last year. But anyway, it's kind of cool, kind of fun. Does anybody else have any questions about anything or want to hear something in particular, or have either questions about the thing I played earlier? One thing I do want to say, still just relating to the questions that you were asking about the different models, slap bass works the best on the round wound strings. So if you get a model with the round wound strings, you'll be fine to slap on it. It'll sound good, and you can even do it acoustically and it sounds all right, So I'm trying to do it without hitting the other bass. The flat wounds have a totally different tone with the slap, so it's kind of it's just kind of different. So it's not as bright. It doesn't get quite as much the same kind of percussive sound. I know people are going to say, well, a lot of slap bass players did use flat wound strings on those old recordings, on the full scale electrics, and that's true. But I don't think it quite gets that tone either. But this one, if you want to slap on the rubber strings, you have to play very, very lightly. Sounds like it went out of tune a little. Let's see. Yeah, and sometimes when you pop on the strings, that'll make them go a little bit flat. And with the rubber strings, sometimes you have to pick them up off the nut and pull them back slightly while you're tuning them, because they'll stick just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so you just gotta play very, very lightly. It's almost like I'm just tapping, rather than I'm more hitting it with this intensity. And if you pop too hard, you'll get more buzz than you want, really. Except the G string works kind of fine. And then I might want a different tone for that, so I'll turn the treble down a little bit. That kind of thing. But if you want the strings to sound the most like an upright bass, I feel like it's the other rubber strings. There's a type called Pahoehoes, Pahoehoe, and those have, to me, the most convincing kind of upright sound. Although these aren't terrible if you EQ it right, So if you want that vibe and that kind of traditional people associate with the U-bass, then those are your best bet. These are the Thunder Guts. They're all right as well. So yeah, it's just kind of just depends on what you like. And so that really affects the models that you get too, right? So if you want to have it be loudest acoustically, which is still not really loud enough to keep up with the guitar, but if they were finger picking, you could play bass and probably be heard at a similar volume, but probably not if they're strumming. You probably want the round wound strings for that if you're going to be playing acoustic and not amped, anywhere. I mean, same thing, but you get the idea. If you're going to be playing unplugged. So that I would recommend the round wound strings for. The flat wound strings are the second loudest, and the rubber strings are virtually not audible in a group setting. On your own, you can kind of hear it, but in a group setting, it's pretty quiet. So that's kind of it for that question. I think we've kind of named everything there. I haven't seen any other comments on here. Is anybody still here and wanting to ask a question or wanting to hear something? Any other questions or anything else going on for you guys today? If anybody got a Ubase and wants to share that with everybody, that's kind of cool too. So just let me know here in the next few minutes. I'll probably play one more tune for you. Maybe one of the classic ones that I always do, like my original Green Tea. I feel like playing that on the rubber strings. I haven't done that in a while. So I'll do that while y'all ask questions, and then I'll get back to that. And if I don't see any questions, then that'll just probably be it for the stream. So just let me know on here if you have any questions. All right, so Elizabeth has a question. She asks, have you ever heard of bass players tuning in fifths? And I have. I do kind of understand the idea behind that if you especially come from playing cello or playing anything else. By the way, for people that don't understand this question, she's asking about the tuning of the strings. So and what interval they're tuned to, for instance, based on a major scale or something. So most basses are tuned in fourths. So if you think about the letters of the alphabet, that would be like if we're going from an E to an A. Well, let me pick a different example. Let's go from an A to a D because that's easier to see rather than the musical alphabet starting over. A, B, C, D. If you're going from an A to a D, you're going 4 letters of the alphabet away. So that's a fourth away. So what she's talking about is going from, instead of an A to a D, having that D tuned to an E. And you can do that. You can tune to fifths. I have heard of some people doing that. Ironically, I know there's a guitar player in the band King Crimson, Robert Fripp. He tunes to fifths on his guitar, but there are bass players that do this as well. It's not as common. For me, it wouldn't be as comfortable. I mean, I've tried playing a cello, so I get the idea of how it feels. But so we had this concept of power chords. I think I even talked about them in the double stops video. So a fifth would be like where a fret is, or where one note is on one string. Sorry, let me say this right. Like the fifth fret of the D string going to the seventh fret of the G string. Well, if it was tuned in fifths, both of those would be on the same fret. It would be a fifth fret on the D string and a fifth fret on the, it would now be an A string because 5 notes away from D. D, E, F, G, and then the alphabet starts back over to A. So if that were the case, if it was a fifth away, then they'd be stacked instead of having to do that. It changes all your finger patterns. So if you're used to playing on a bass tuned in fourths, you really have to adjust and relearn all your scales and all of everything to be able to do that. I haven't heard of very many people attempting it on a U bass. Maybe someone else has asked this question in the past, but it's a great question. You would probably need to get a 5-string pack to do this, and maybe having multiple packs, because these strings aren't meant to be tuned that differently from one another. So if you got like a string pack that goes higher, let me a second. I'm trying to think of what you'd want your lowest note to be on here. Some people would tune it down to a C. So if you got a lower 5-string pack and you had a B string, you could tune that up a half step. And then you'd have a C. And then the next string could be a G. So you could either use, probably the A string would be the best thing to do that, and just tune it down a whole step to get the G. Then a fifth away from that G, you'd have G, A, B, C, D. Sorry I had to do that. Usually I'd be fine. You'd have a D string. So you just keep the D string the way it is. And then if you had another thinner string, maybe not even a U bass string or something, you would have to probably use that to get the A, because if you were to just tune this string up a whole step, it may be too much tension on the string. It might work, but you may want to get proper gauge strings in order to do that. So people do attempt things like this, but you would have to buy multiple string packs to really make it work. And you may even have to get someone to make a custom string, or, you know, alter a string from a longer bass to work on that. So you can do that. I have heard of some bass players doing that, but I think you need to talk to someone about a custom string pack or combine multiple string packs to make it work. So hopefully that's not too wordy of an answer, but yes, to answer, and some people have done that. Although I don't know specifically who, but yes. Okay. So I think that's about it, unless anybody else has a last minute question that they sneak in just before I say goodbye to everybody. But that was a great question. I haven't heard that one. Maybe one other time. People have asked about tuning it like an ukulele before, just having it, you know, maybe like a baritone ukulele or something, or some other kind of thing. And I've just talked about how it's the same kind of thing. You need multiple string packs because you might want a couple of the strings to be the same kind of string, so that you're tuning down rather than tuning up to the pitch, so that your string doesn't end up too tight. But that's about it for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed learning the double stops and the strum pattern from the lesson earlier, if you stuck forward all the way through to the end of the video. But if not, I hope you enjoyed the short sightings of Cornbread the cat. And I will see you guys next week, Tuesday, for a normal weekly video. Hopefully Tuesday. I know this one got out on Wednesday. And Thursday for the live stream. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good week.